Hello, and welcome to the Disability Myth. My name is Dominic, and I live with a fatal disease called spinal muscular atrophy. Together, my amazing caretaker, co-host, and best friend, Uriel, and I plan to debunk misconceptions, share our personal experiences, and shatter your expectations. But we're not stopping there. We're bringing in experts, thought leaders, and everyday people who are smashing through societal barriers, paving the way for a more inclusive world. Whether you're tuning in to learn, empathize, or simply to be entertained, the show promises to be an eye-opening experience that transcends boundaries. Because when it comes down to it, what makes us different is what makes us extraordinary. Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of the Disability Myth. I am, of course, your handsome, your humble, and most importantly, hammy host, Dominic Trevathan. And here with me today, as always, the equally handsome, humble, and hammy Uriel.
Uriel, hi. How you doing, Dom?
Doing pretty good. How about you, bro?
I'm excited
Me too, man.
because I don't know much about football.
Yeah,
And then
and,
that's
and
today's
today, and today,
Whee!
we're talking about football.
Football.
Shout out the Pat McAfee show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really excited. We have an awesome guest here today named Jerod, and he's going to be talking with us today about his experiences as a sports fan. And we're going to be talking all things accessibility, going to venues, all that good stuff, and a little more. So, yeah, welcome on to the show, Jerod, aka Positively Paralyzed on IG. Give him a follow. And yeah, we'll pass the mic to you, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, guys. My name's Jerod Nieder, and I came up with Positively Paralyzed along with my wife as a way to kind of provide a sense of community online for people in wheelchairs with spinal cord injury and just trying to kind of normalize a life that's a little different. One thing that I really enjoy is when I get on my social medias is that I have filled my feed with other people that are like me. So the one place that I am the most normal is on my social medias on my phone, and that is a really it's kind of a place where I get to hide out and be normal, and I get to give advice and I get to take advice. And it just really has, you know, helped round me out as a person, I feel like.
Speaking of that, how long have you been doing social?
So I started it about 5 years. Well, no, probably about 4 years ago. I started a little bit of YouTube because I moved to Kentucky for spinal cord injury research, and I wanted to keep my friends and family updated with what I was going on. So it wasn't really something I was trying to reach a larger audience with. It was just for my friends and family back home. And then I turned 40 in 2022, and I kind of freaked out a little bit. I had a little bit of a midlife crisis, and as
Okay.
I didn't really know where my life was going. I didn't really know what direction I wanted to do. I've been killing it in research and trying to pursue every opportunity I have down that road. But that's not. I don't feel like that's really that sustainable. That's been a fun journey for a while, and I still love research. But I wanted something bigger and starting to provide community online and really reaching out to other people has really given me more out of life, and I'm really excited about it.
I feel that. I feel
Yeah,
that.
that's a beautiful story. I feel like I have like one of those quarter life I'm having a quarter life crises. It's like, oh man. You've had a couple of those too, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
I think it's tough as a disabled person. That's who I am to myself. People are always like, "Oh no, you're a person who uses a wheelchair." I don't mean to offend anybody with my verbiage, but just they're one and the same. We're very intertwined,
Yeah.
um, and it's just really, I feel like society tries to put everybody into boxes, and I didn't like any of the boxes that I was getting sorted into, um, and so I'm just trying to fight for something that's different, that is hopefully better, and that's all I'm trying to do.
I feel that. Yeah. I think we're very alike in that sense, despite differences, football speaking.
Oh yeah.
I've always had this theory that like people that are rivals in sports, like they have so much more in common than they have that are different, but you focus on your team's blue and my team's red or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's
I mean, our team's
that's
both
the
the same colors, so
right. Yeah. So
But
yeah, and the Niners, I got a history of loving the Niners. My dad grew up in the Bay Area. I was a terrible little tight end wide receiver when I was playing little league football, and I thought I was
Okay.
the next Jerry Rice. There wasn't anybody on the Chiefs I was trying to model my game after in the 90s, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so interesting because his dad was a huge Niners fan.
Yeah, that's how I got into it. Yeah.
All right. Is your dad also from the Bay Area?
No, he's from Carpinteria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Close
Yeah,
enough.
my dad's from Lawrence, Kansas, where I'm from, but he lived in the Bay Area for a little while, and
Okay.
so we watched the 49ers. He's diehard Chiefs, though. He's diehard Chiefs.
For sure. Okay.
And I really got to say, my dad is where I got my love for sports. Growing up, it would kind of drive my mom crazy because, like, if my dad's high school buddy's daughter was playing junior high volleyball at the junior high, he's going to the game. Like, he is just a genuine sports fan, and he loves supporting his community, and so he really instilled that in me. And I just, yeah, I love going to little league games in the summer. Baseball is my favorite little league sport, but I just love all athletics. And recently I've been really getting into women's college basketball. Man, that is so fun.
It's a really budding sport for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your grandpa started watching that.
Yeah, even my grandpa started
Yeah.
watching. Yeah, he's a big sports lover too. He watches everything, basketball, golf, football. He's played a little bit of everything too in his life, so he has kind of a appreciation for every sport for the most part. And like before I lived with my grandparents, living with my dad, same thing. Like he installed that like love of sports in me. Just watching football every Sunday, throwing on the jersey. He had a big jersey collection. Like even though he was a Niners fan, he had Packer jerseys. He had Brett Favre jersey. He had Ben Roethlisberger jersey. So yeah, he was a big fan of just good players.
Yeah, man, I have to tell you, I'm a huge Niners fan. Christian McCaffrey is probably my favorite running back to watch run. That guy is so impressive. And I really look at athletes differently now that I'm disabled. The first time I noticed this was I've done the New York City Marathon in a hand cycle. I've done that twice. And what's really cool is when you hand cycle the New York City Marathon is that you start absolutely first. The athletes with disabilities go first. And then what starts after you is all the professional athletes, like the world champion marathon runners. So they're going to pass you, that's going to happen. So what's so awesome is at some point during the race, I know, and men and women, their bodies are just so impressive. They come running by you and it is like a herd of horses, and their legs, every time they hit the ground, it like shakes like an earthquake. And then you see all this crazy definition in their legs. And like, I'm just totally nerding out on how just impressive all their bodies are when they go by. It's really a cool experience. But the way Christian McCaffrey runs, that dude, how can you not like that?
I've been trying to tell this guy about it.
No, you showed me clips, and I'm like, okay, I played sports in high school, right?
Yeah.
And I can respect athleticism.
Tell the people what you played.
It was wrestling, track, field. I was a distance runner of all things. I should have been a sprinter, but oh god, that was tough. like 7 miles a day. I don't know how I did it, but wrestling really fun, really competitive. A lot of just wrestling so physical and mental. Just like the sports and like just watching athletes just do their thing. I've always appreciated that. And he shows me clips of McCaffrey, and even like we were watching a game together, and I watched Purdy throw the ball. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Like, as a I love athleticism and I love athletes, but I don't watch too many games. And when I saw Purdy throw that ball, I'm like, whoa, that's impressive. Like, whoa.
Put a lot of mustard on
Right.
that.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, okay. It's like,
Yeah, you don't have to
me
be a
clips all
football
the time.
fan to see some of these athletes do stuff, and you're like, holy cow, yeah.
Wow, yeah.
All right. Well, before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's do our very important icebreakers.
Oh
We got to ask the big hitters as always.
gosh.
Pineapple on pizza or no pineapple on pizza?
That's not my jam. One of my best friends in high school, he loved that, so I've had it a few times, and I don't hate it, but that's not something I'm going to order.
You're not bad, man. You're not bad. You're right.
Because you don't like pineapple either.
No.
Well, it's not your main squeeze. Like, you're not going for it.
No.
How about
Like-
this, cream cheese on pizza or nah?
Oh shit! I've never tried that.
I think that would work. I think, yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I think that works.
In Lawrence, Kansas, Pizza Shuttle 785-842-1212. But it's the late night pizza that everybody gets. They're open till 3 a.m. and they do the cream cheese, and that's my jam.
Okay.
See,
You gotta tell them about your Whopper you designed.
Oh no, I shouldn't bring that up.
Have you seen
I
have you
should-
have you seen have you seen those commercials or like the
No.
things online? Like
No,
people
they're
are
not
sharing their
commercials.
their Whopper that they designed. Like
No,
they
I
have a
haven't.
website where you can build your own Whopper, like with their AI or whatever.
So it's
Uh-huh.
so the Burger King website implemented an AI tool, and it AI generates a Whopper for you depending on the toppings that you pick. And the idea is to build your Whopper, uh, participate in the it's a contest for $1 million. So we built a Whopper, and I was putting toppings in there to trick the AI because the AI would search the topping first to make sure it was edible or non-allergen. I put in Zyn, like the
Design.
Zyn, yeah, the
Yeah.
nicotine pouch thing, and the AI was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." And then it's like a Pepto Bismol with a maple syrup, cream cheese. What else did we put in there?
Creatine.
Oh, creatine, whey protein,
protein.
caffeine, and it created this weird pink popcorn looking Whopper thing.
This is Chad's signature Whopper with maple syrup and other toppers, with some caffeine and whey protein in there. Try and top that if you dare.
So
Playing around with
gross.
AI. I was playing around with it today. My wife actually was like, "You got to quit sending me these," but it's so fun just throwing prompts at it and see what it comes up with.
Yeah.
I'm always having it come up with pictures of my wife and I, and I'm like, I am a wheelchair user in a power wheelchair. And I'm like, my wife is, and I always throw like the worst of it, like she is half Korean, she is half Filipino, or a quarter Filipino, a quarter Irish, and just so they play it up, like they make her look super Asian, or they do, and the wheelchair they give me is always pretty clunky and everything. It's
Yeah.
fun playing around with AI.
It's fun.
It always uses Google images, so when it's generating things, it's like Google searching wheelchair, and it just combines all that into one weird clunky wheelchair. It's like, oh, same with the Whopper. It's so gross looking.
It looks terrible.
Uh,
All right. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Okay. We were talking about this on one of the episodes before too. Like, it seems to be like a regional thing. Like,
well, yeah, because some counties they literally say Coke or Pepsi County.
yeah,
If you could look at it in a map, and it's some counties prefer Coke over Pepsi, even though it's part of the same company. So and they still make money,
yeah.
but you know.
My wife's a real goody two shoes, and she loves Coca-Cola. And she started referring to herself as a cokehead without having any knowledge of what everybody else was thinking. And I got a
No
kick out of that.
way. No
Yeah,
way.
I was like, Hannah, nobody thinks you're talking about Coca-Cola, and she's like, what? Oh, I'm like, yeah,
Oh, God.
yeah. She'd be like, oh, I gotta go get some Coke. I'm a cokehead. And it's like, let's not.
God.
Casually says I'm a cokehead.
That reminds me of when I went to Ireland in 2017.
Mhm.
A local asked me where the crack was, and I was so confused. And like I didn't know you guys like I didn't know crack cocaine was a thing. And like I mean I'm not surprised, but and it's just like no, it's slang for like where's everyone? Like where's the event? And I had to ask a local, like, oh, somebody asked me for crack, and I didn't know how to respond.
That's awesome.
Oh man. All right. Final little icebreaker, although I feel like we're very comfortable already. Talking about crack.
Hey,
Best piece of advice you've ever been given.
Man, if you're going through hell, keep going. Don't stop.
I like that. Straight to the brick.
what does that mean?
I don't know. It's just what the kids say nowadays,
Okay, straight to the brick. I don't.
Trying to appeal to the Gen Z audience.
I saw a clip today that had me rolling. So they've come out with a Gen Z Bible, and it's updated with like all modern terms. And they had just a clip of this pastor standing like reading it, and man, I was dying. It was, yeah, it's like Mary was feeling Joseph, no cap, and like,
Oh gosh. I was telling Dom like we're getting older because now we're actually having to look up what some of these words mean.
Yeah.
You know, we're
right.
not in high school or anymore or anything, so these are just not common terms to us.
Yeah.
You know, we're reaching dad age almost, right? like what, 25,
Yep.
26. I'm like, oh man, like, like shoot.
You're not cool anymore.
Yeah, no, we're like late Gen Z. It's over.
All right, well, this has been a lovely discussion so far about how old we are.
Hey.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the myth for today's episode. And I'll kind of start out by saying, obviously I love sports. I'm a big 49er fan. I watch a bit of basketball, I watch a bit of baseball. And I think one of the things I love most about sports is just that they're pretty universally understood. And they can be appreciated regardless of your level of mobility. Like you, Jared, were telling us how, you played as a kid. You were a tight end, right? A receiver.
Yeah.
And you had that experience kind of going into your adulthood, and obviously what happened with you ended up with your injury, and you still appreciate it. And I like stuff like that because, I never played a sport in my life other than power wheelchair soccer.
Mm.
And yeah, I still have this like attachment to football, to sports in general, because again, like we were talking about our parents, our family, like it's a cultural thing almost that you kind of grow up in, and you have this innate kind of natural understanding and appreciation for it. I remember playing Madden with my dad and like him telling me, "Oh, you got to pick this play. Cover one man, robber press. That'll always stop them on defense." And I'm like, "Okay, but why?" And so now as I got older, like, and I started looking into football, trying to understand it more, like I'm a football nerd. I'm always trying to learn more about the strategy, the formations, like shotgun versus pistol versus single back, I formation, and defensive formations. Like I'm nerding out already, and
Yeah.
Uriel's
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
so
It's like,
you can see,
whoa.
like, I just appreciate it, and I think it's one of those things you can regardless of your challenges that you face on a daily basis. So,
For sure.
uh,
I think because of my challenges that I face on a daily basis, I appreciate it even more.
yeah,
When I think about how hard it is for me to do simple tasks, and then I see just these world-class athletes contorting their bodies in crazy shapes and making one-handed grabs or making these crazy throws off balance, or, Caitlin Clark just relentlessly
yeah,
drilling threes from the logo. And I'm just like,
exactly.
to have that kind of control over your body, to be, master of something like that, it's just, man, I dream about that.
Yeah, dude, no, I feel that. And as a wheelchair user, as someone with a disability, being able to appreciate it is easy. However, I think as you'll kind of break down for us, there can be some challenges when you go to these events and these venues, right? Stuff
For
that
sure.
can be irritating, right?
Yeah, like you, it was sports are a big part of my dad and I's relationship. And that was, growing up, we would go to all sorts of games. Kansas football was not very good, but we would go to the games all the time. And it was kind of cool. My dad would always go with his dad when he grew up. This is just a generational thing that my family has done. And back in the day, my dad's goal, one, they were not, they're poor, so he would sneak into the games. My grandpa would walk in, and then he would run in, and then they would go meet down the corridor. And then my dad, what he would do every year when he was a kid is he tried to steal hats from everybody that came so he could get all the hats of the Big Eight or whatever it was back then. And he would always tell me a story about how he went to steal this guy's hat one time and his wig came off with the hat. And he's like running down the stairs with this guy's hair in his hat while he's yelling at him. It's, you know, stories like that, generations back, like that's what ingrains being a sports fan. It was so cool when I was a kid. It wasn't that we could not afford to get into the game, but my dad was like, I grew up sneaking into games. You got to do this. So I was like 9 years old, and I'm on and we were prepping in the car, and he's like, all right, you're going to walk up with me. And he's like, and then when we get close, he's like, I'm going to pretend like I don't know you. And when they take my ticket, you run, and I'll go meet you down in the bathroom. And that's what we did, and
That's such a dad thing to do.
it was just the thrill of doing it. But then what was so cool and actually, kind of disheartening was, after my injury, we still wanted to have those moments, not that we were sneaking into games anymore, but we bonded all the time. We would always go to the Big 12 tournament together. We'd always go to football games, Kansas basketball games. It was really great time with my dad. And then once I became a quadriplegic, it's so hard to get to games. Wheelchair accessible tickets are not easy to come by. The systems are not well understood by the venues. A lot of times you get stuck in the worst seat in the venue. Sometimes you get stuck in the best seat. It's kind of the the cripple gamble, I call it,
Yeah,
but
no, I mean, on that note, like, I went to a Niner game. I think it was like back in 2017, and I think I mentioned to you this when we met before. That was back when like Kaepernick was still playing as our quarterback, and we had coach like Jim Tom Sula, and our team was just not very good that year. But I was so hyped because I was like my first Niner game that I've been to.
yeah.
And I was so excited, and it was a great time. Don't get me wrong. Like my nurse handled everything. My friend, she got the tickets. She made sure all my needs were met. That I had somewhere to lay down to use the restroom. I had somewhere to do my breathing treatments, like my albuterol and everything. And Levi Stadium was really cool about giving me everything I need. It's just the little things that I think able-bodied people or people not otherwise challenged would overlook. Like for instance, because of my scoliosis, I had spinal fusion surgery back when I was 12, 13 years old. And because of that, I can't like turn my head to the left really. I can kind of turn it to the right, but not so much to the left. And because of that, they sat me at like midfield, like upper deck, 50-yard line. And it was cool because like I could see everything pretty good, but when they would go to the left side of the field, I couldn't like see that easily. So I'd have to like turn my chair a little bit. So I
Right.
get what you mean. Like it's just those little things that are often kind of overlooked.
Right. And I think like another big one is I suck in the cold weather. Like me and my wife are huge
Hmm.
NFL fans, but I suck in the cold weather. And we went to a Chiefs game in November. It was Chiefs versus Chargers. I think it was 2019, maybe the year we went to that game. But I had a lot of friends that were there at the game, and they're all like, "Oh, come meet us at the tailgate." And I feel like a lot of them thought that I was being kind of rude, but I can't tailgate when it's 20 degrees. Like
Yeah,
that's just not an enjoyable experience for me.
yeah,
And I think some people kind of felt like maybe I blew them off, but it was just like that doesn't work for me. That's not fun.
yeah,
I had to stay as warm as possible, and then try to keep that heat into the game. So that's just a lot of people don't understand, and I think a lot of it's on me because I don't like to talk about my challenges always. That's something that I've tried to be better about with Positively Paralyzed, is getting it
yeah,
out there.
for
but
sure.
but naturally, you just, the way I am is I want everybody to think that everything's perfect and I'm handling everything fine, and that's a lie, and that's not true, but that's what I want the world to think.
It's like we're the same person.
Yeah. My wife will tell me, she'll be like, you need to tell your dad that you're going through this. And not that we aren't close, but man, I want everybody to think it's all good. And that's just something I got to work on.
Yeah, no, I feel that big time. Because like you, there's a difference between the way you see yourself and the way other people see you. And like the way you push yourself out to other people is how they're gonna see you, which is not always gonna be accurate depending on how you portray yourself, your persona, like your character, right? Like about that in acting and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you wish you're something that you're not, you fake it till you make it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, okay, to kind of get back to like just the difficulties of it.
Yeah. I had
Like, you had a question?
yeah, because I was looking at the thing and I about the ADA in the stadiums. I had like so many questions about that
Sure, bro.
because I was telling Dom, well, each stadium only has a limited amount of ADA seats. So
Hmm.
my first thought was, does it create this insane competitiveness for the ADA tickets? Like,
Honestly, what I really believe it has done is it's convinced large groups of disabled people that they just can't go to sporting events.
okay,
And it really, I think that's about the worst thing that could happen, because I don't want to lie and say that there aren't challenges and that it is frustrating. It's a lot of times, there's games in March or tournament games, or maybe you didn't plan out 4 months ahead that you want to go to a game. any able-bodied person can get on StubHub, can get on Ticketmaster, find seats. They can, if they don't want to pay very much, they can sit at the top. If they want to pay whatever they want to pay, they can sit wherever they want. Sometimes it doesn't matter if I have unlimited funds, there's nothing available for me. And that pisses me off. I should have right to go watch a game just like everybody else. And yeah, like this is really the mountain I'm going to die on. Is I deserve to have an opportunity to go where everybody else goes. I deserve to roll my chair onto a plane. I deserve to go to any game that I want to, as long as I can pay what everybody else is paying.
Yeah.
And it just pisses me off that I feel like we're told to just go in your corner and you don't bother us.
Yeah.
Don't be seen. Don't bother us. You're already sucking all our tax money. Get out of my sight. And that's really how I feel sometimes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I feel that. It's kind of unrelated, but somewhat related. You know, I went to the doctors yesterday because I'm having issues with my hospital bed where the
Mhm.
wheels are breaking constantly and coming
Yeah.
unattached from the legs.
Oh,
And
no.
so I'm trying to like get a replacement for my bed. And you know, like you have through Medicare and Medi-Cal, like you can only rent a bed. You can't just have a bed.
Oh,
And all these hoops that you have to go through. I was supposed to just have like a video visit to with my doctors for them to fill out the paperwork to send over to the company that would ship out the bed to me. And then they're like, "Oh no, we actually got to see you in person."
oh,
And I'm just like, dude, a normal person
right.
wouldn't need to go through all this to get a replacement for their bed.
Right.
Why should I? You know? And then
You're just trying to sleep.
exactly. Exactly. In my case, I'm just trying to have somewhere I can lay down to take a piss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Equally important.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, like the doctor was like, "Look, man, I'm really sorry you had to go through all this." Like he was really cool. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna make it happen, no problem, blah blah blah." And the other issue was like, you know, how are we gonna move the old bed? Because this old bed that we've had, it's like 11 years old, it's breaking down, like I said. There's no, you know, that to our knowledge, services that just will move it for us. And like the company that replaces the bed will not take the old bed or
Right.
do anything with it. And they expect you to have the space vacant for them to install the new one.
Right.
And I'm like, who the hell's gonna like get rid of the old bed? Like,
Me.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
You know, at least you know.
The doctor was like, you know, like this is really unfortunate, but you know, I, you kind of have a couple of options, you know, like maybe if you can get lucky and find, you know, a church or, you know, a volunteer service to move it for you, or you're gonna have to like pay $50 out of pocket and like have someone move it. And I'm like, yeah, man, you know what? You're right. It's a really shitty situation. Like we shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to pay out of pocket,
Right.
right?
Right.
So,
That's
yeah,
wild.
unrelated but related.
Yeah, it's all related.
Yeah. So what's it like, you know, traveling for you? Like, just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, for one, I love traveling. Like that was something that I did avidly before my injury, and then until I met Hannah was really not something that I thought was ever going to be a part of my life. Um, I love the trips that we go on, but I hate how much work it is for her. Flying is pretty ridiculous. You know, you have to make all the reservations in advance. You got to let them know you're bringing a wheelchair with the batteries, all that stuff. And the airlines are getting better about having processes for that because of all the negative publicity they've been getting. But I will say, I try to never fly with my Permobil power chair anymore, because in my experience, I've probably flown with it maybe, 12 trips, 30 flights altogether. And they've broken something off of my chair every single flight. 100% of the time, they
Yeah.
will break your chair. And I hate that because I don't want to scare people off from traveling. But you guys, it's just the reality of the situation. And most of the time, the damage is not catastrophic, but there is always damage. Always damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a special chair that I fly with. It's a wheelchair that I bought off Amazon. It's a power wheelchair. Really, I need a joystick. I can get in a manual chair, and I know there's a lot of, I'm a C5 complete quadriplegic. I know there's a lot of people like me that are able to be in a manual chair. That's not me. I feel like being in a manual chair If I want to be in a manual chair, then that's what I'm doing for the day. I'm being in a manual chair. If I want to create content, if I want to work at the hospital, if I want to do research, if I want to be anything other than a guy that's pushing a manual chair, then I need to be in my power chair. That's where I have
Yeah.
the most independence. So it sucks traveling with a chair that's less than what I'm used to every day. But then again, I don't want to risk the chair that I need every day for a 3-day trip. So I bought a cheap Amazon fold, and I say cheap, the thing was like almost $4,000, right?
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's too short for me. I have to stack 2 cushions on it so I can get my butt up higher. I had to install my own foot plates, and I put a seatbelt on it to make it a little safer. But it's like I said, it's way too short and it's way too wide. The person that's meant for it is heavier than I am and shorter than I am. But the thing is, the little engine that could, and I'm pretty decently comfortable in it, and it lets me go a lot of places. We took it to Utah, we've taken it to LA. Really anywhere we got to fly, that's kind of the preferred mode of transportation.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Okay.
Really, I was just at a conference with a big pharmaceutical company, and they're like, what's your just if you could dream, what's the dream? And I'm like, oh, without a doubt, we got a 747 that is completely wheelchair accessible. We got a fleet of vans that we roll into the belly, and all I do is I go see a city taking wheelchair users wherever they want to go. We'll drop you in a van off wherever you go. I'm gonna go get somebody else, and we're gonna just take you guys on vacation because you're held back and it's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, well, we agree. We've always been equal opportunity, man.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's oh shoot. It's even hearing your stadium thing that sounds, oh man, the tickets, I agree. Just the right to go see a game, anybody.
Right. And it's actually when a venue sells out, it's typically policy to open up handicap seating after it is sold out. Then they're supposed to sell the handicap seating to whoever wants it.
Really?
Yeah. And now where you can get in is you gotta get the human element. You gotta find the guy or girl, the person that's in charge of things at the venue. People are great, especially when they see, a guy like me who very clearly needs a power wheelchair and is not trying to take advantage of any type of situation. But I've had really good luck when I go to the accessibility counter. I'm like, hey, I tried for 3 months to get tickets to this. I could not. At the last second, I was able to get these terrible tickets, and now they're sticking me at the top of the arena, and I am held back because of my disability. I have went to all the great seats here. You have sold them to nothing but people that don't need it. It's really offensive to me when I go to an event and then I cruise through the handicap where I would like to sit if it's sold out, and it's nobody that needs it. Nobody that needs it. And you can say, oh, all disabilities aren't visible. That is very true, but those people don't need it. Those people don't need it. You're telling me that it is full of 200 people with invisible disabilities that just happen to need wheelchair seating? Get out of here.
The math ain't
Get out of
mathing.
here.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and
Thank you.
what's really cool is when I get into those seats, because I'll go talk to the usher. I'll be like, look, all these people, whether they did it or the ticket office did it or the athletic department or whatever university they're with did it, they're taking advantage of my seats. And usually when you take that, they're like, we got room for you.
Yeah.
We can.
Right,
I was like, well, you
yeah.
should. This is
Yeah.
my section. And not that you want to have that attitude, but it's just so abused, and it's infuriating. And what I found is the people sitting there, they don't even know it. They're like, oh, we have it on film. This one guy being like, check out this VIP seating. He's kicking his legs out. He's like, look at how much room we have here. I'm like, bro, this isn't VIP. This is wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
So,
it's like there's this disconnect between the systems in place, right? Like the higher ups that design everything and the people that are actually on the ground, doing this work. Like you
Right.
said, the ushers.
mhm.
And it's unfortunate because
the human element, because
Yeah.
people that sell these companies, these apps that sell the tickets, they couldn't care less.
Yeah.
They're just making a profit.
Just want money.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're on the ground, it's you're in touch with the actual employees of the stadium, the human element with it. And it's just
And it's crazy when you think about it, because we always say this on almost every episode now, a quarter of the population lives with some type of disability. Why wouldn't major corporations like the NFL, the NBA have a better, kind of fundamental understanding of that
Right.
and design the systems to accommodate that, because that would only make them more money, right?
Right. And especially like come at the NFL with, some of your former players are in wheelchairs because of what they did for you out on the
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
And we can't even go to the game.
Yep.
We were talking about with someone else about college and the accessibility, and we brought up a point where a lot of classrooms and sometimes labs in colleges only have one or two ADA tables,
Yeah.
and
Or
usually
none,
they're the
or like none.
or none, and usually they're the ones that like elevate up and down. But well, you know, don't you think they should just make every lab table do this, make it so like
Yeah.
ADA friendly?
For sure. And like not even ADA friendly. I like it's universal design.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Really
not more
design.
expensive. It's not something crazy. It's just if you think, if you use your brain, everything can be accessible for everyone at no extra charge.
Yep.
Like
Right.
it doesn't have to cost more. Like you're not putting steps in. Maybe you have to use an elevator or a ramp instead of steps. But we're not talking about expensive differences. We're just talking about intelligent differences.
Right. Well, the thing that always like pissed us off is like whenever you advocate for like those changes and they're so simple, they always talk about price this, that. They always find almost excuses to like not do it. I'm like, why, but clearly it's like
Oh,
it's what
it
do you mean?
infuriates me with my apartment here. So the shower is not wheelchair accessible. There's a tile floor, and then there's like a brick ledge that's probably 8 inches high and 6 inches wide, and you can't roll into the shower. So I was talking to them. I was like, hey, can I pay to have that removed and make this a roll-in shower so it works for me? Yes, you can. But when you move out, you also have to pay to have it reverted to how it was when you originally got here. And
That's
it's
so
like,
lame.
no, I'm already paying to improve an apartment that I'm not going to ever see any benefit from other than my transfers every day. But no, I'm not going to sink. And they were talking about like an extra $5,000 to change it back. And it's like, no, like not only do I
Crazy.
not want to, I can't.
Right.
Yeah. What's been your experience like? We kind of just chat on stadiums and
Yeah.
their seatings and everything, and
Yeah.
like what's been your experience like venue to venue? Like do you have better experiences at some place like say Arrowhead Stadium versus other places? Like tell us a little bit about the breakdown of that.
Yeah, I think wherever you have relationships, is something that definitely helps. New York City, Madison Square Garden, they have great attitudes about things. I've always been very impressed with New York City. And you just got to find how they work. I'm a huge Kansas Jayhawks basketball fan, and it was impossible to get to get tickets on the secondary market. I could not get wheelchair accessible tickets. They're sold out every game. They're a top 5 team every year.
Yeah.
But being from Lawrence, I could not get wheelchair accessible tickets. And that was very frustrating. But then on the other side, I start looking into it, and they make season tickets super affordable for wheelchair users. So
Okay.
I have Kansas basketball season tickets. I sit on the court behind the basket. Like they are incredible seats, and they are under $1,500 a year for 2 of them for season tickets.
That seems very
So
reasonable.
right, like, and I if I wanted to, I could sell them and make money off of them.
Yeah.
But what I do is I give them away to other wheelchair users. I only make it back for a game or two, but if I don't buy season tickets, then I can't come back for that game or two.
Yeah.
So what I do is with the funds generated through Positively Paralyzed and everything, I get that paid for, and then I just give them all the way to other wheelchair users because I hate how we're held back, and it didn't feel right for me to try to sell those. I just give them away to wheelchair users so we get more wheels in the field house.
So speaking of Positively Paralyzed, like what exactly is it? Can you tell us about your content and everything?
Yeah, just trying to shed light on what my life is like, and it's similar to a lot of people with quadriplegia, spinal cord injury, even paraplegics, and other people with disabilities. And there's all things that we can relate to. But I really hated, when I first got injured and I would get on Instagram and, everybody puts their best face forward on Instagram, but it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
just all the pretty shiny people and me in my wheelchair. And I just hated how I felt. And when I started looking for content creators that were like me, it's hard to find. There's a few prominent creators out there, but there's not a lot of us putting stuff out there. And so
Yeah.
what I have done is I want to put more out there, things that I couldn't find information on. I find the information that I can and I put it out there. And it's just my opinion. But that way, when some guy like me is 1 year injured or, newly injured and has no idea what the hell's going on, and when he gets online to search for something, well, maybe he finds a few things instead of nothing. And, then maybe he'll put some stuff online. The next guy finds a handful of things instead of nothing, and like, hopefully it builds. But I feel so much, there's a lot of competition on social media. And something that I try to tell everyone is that I want to work with everybody. I want to collaborate with you. I want to push your page. I just want more disabled content on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube. I want my social media to help normalize what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's always how I felt. And we talked about this from day one on the podcast. Disability is just such a taboo topic, and it has
Right.
been for a long time, and for no apparent reason other than that people get uncomfortable when it's put in their face.
And one thing that I think really that I've identified is that what really makes people uncomfortable is if you connect with them just a little bit, and then they can see themselves in you, and then they see themselves in your chair, and then you just see them go white as a ghost. Like
Yep.
it's like it's sometimes it's too real and it's off-putting, and they'll be like, oh, you're a sports fan, we have something in common, how can you be in a wheelchair? It's like, it can happen to anybody.
And
This
then
is this is
that thing just kind of clicks in their head like, damn.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is one club, talking about spinal cord injury, but this is one club that anybody can join at any time,
Right.
Yeah. I think one of our friends told us that other statistic that 80% of people at some point in their lives will live with some type of disability. So yeah,
I guess if you live long enough, that's almost inevitable, right?
exactly.
Well, yeah, it's just like because when we were looking into it, it's just like old age, your stability goes,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes just working manually intensive jobs, or like past injuries catch up to you, something happens,
Well, like you have
But
your own
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, so often people get into their golden years and then they get super bummed out because they have to sell their house and they don't want to go to a nursing home, but their house doesn't work for them because it wasn't created using universal design. And if
Right.
all the buildings were created for everyone to begin with, people could age in their homes a lot longer.
Yeah.
These things would work for us. You wouldn't have to go into the system as early as you do.
Right. We were just talking about that like a few weeks back where when you reach a certain age and all that, like selling the home and stuff, it's so expensive to rent like old people proof your house. And it's true, and it's extremely expensive. And like when you're on like, well, this is like, well, retirement, or like, I'm about to retire. Am I really gonna invest all this money to rechange my house? And then if I sell, I'm not guaranteed to find a better option.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And
what
people
do I?
love their houses. There's so many memories and emotions
Right.
attached.
And not to mention,
Exactly.
like, where do you even start when you're trying to old people proof your house?
Right. It's just like everything could be like dangerous. You just
Like-
things you don't think about
Like there's
normally.
like, there's specialists that do stuff like that,
Right.
but they're not easy to find.
Yeah.
They're not like a doctor. The
Yeah.
average person probably wouldn't think like, oh, let me contact this person that specializes in aging in the home and accessibility. Like, it's just not as common as you would expect.
Right. Again, it's kind of like that thing where just like even like aging or like getting older, like even that's a bit taboo because everybody wants to live forever. Everybody wants to stay young. Nobody wants to like acknowledge the fact that like, oh, my shoulder doesn't move as well as it used to.
Yeah.
And it like, people just like kind of like hide away from it.
Mhm.
And it's like, come on, man. Like, you just gotta have
We're
to
all gonna
accept.
die.
Yeah,
We're all
like,
gonna die.
like, and then they end up in this thing where they never like seek help, whether it be like therapy or like any form of physical therapy or anything, because they
Yeah.
just think they could just white knuckle it. I'm like, no, dude, that's how you end up worse,
Yeah.
and it's
Right.
it shouldn't be
I think
taboo.
Yeah, and I think that's a very human reaction. There's a lot of times where, I'll let something with my health, it's getting worse and getting worse. And then you finally see the doctor and you get things corrected and you're like, man, I'm really not smart for letting myself live that way for a while. Like, you put up with a certain amount of pain or things that aren't right. And, you just think you can push through. But once you get it corrected, you're like, why did I do that? Like that, you don't
Right.
have to live like that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's wild, and then, gosh.
All right. Well, before we wrap up here,
Oh yeah, I
we
mean,
got we got a we got a couple more questions
oh yeah.
before we get
Cool.
too crazy talking about dying and stuff.
Got real deep real quick.
Got real deep. That midlife crisis. Okay, so I guess my final kind of main question here is, what tips specifically do you have for those with disabilities looking to attend those sporting events? You mentioned, you got to find the right people, bring the humanity out of them. Like, what are some tips you have regarding that?
First, I would say do as much due diligence as you can. Call ahead, uh, talk to the person at the accessibility desk, let them know that you're coming. Like as soon as you can, let them know and communicate with them. These people respond to emails. You get them on the phone. They're real people there, and once you talk to them and they realize you're a real person, then they're going to be much more willing to help you. And then the other big piece of advice is just do it. I know you're scared. It's going to go wrong. It might suck. It might be awesome. Just do it. You don't know until you do it. The first time's not going to be as good as the second time. The third time's not going to be as good as the second time. You're going to get better at it. Just get out of the house and do it. What's the worst thing that could happen? It doesn't go perfectly. It's not going to go perfectly. Get out of your house. Just do it.
Just
That's
do
all
it.
I'm saying. Like, just do it.
Was that like
It's
Shia
scary.
Oh, the Nike say, the Nike.
Yeah. Yesterday, you said tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all gonna die, right? Like the end is
Right.
coming. Go live. Just go.
Yeah,
God.
I feel that.
I just wanted to ask your favorite stadium food. Like,
It's not that deep.
yeah, I mean, it's like I had it on there.
So yeah, when I go to Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, it's the generic nachos. There's nothing special about them, but I like getting the nachos. When we go here in Louisville, it's the Yum Center. We got to get pizza and a Mountain Dew. And then whenever we go to a new venue, I love looking up what the venue's famous for and getting whatever their special food is. Like I love stadium food. I'll be honest. I like trying out all the man. Yeah, I'm a gas station food connoisseur. Like, give me the trash food. I love it.
What's Arrowhead's specialty?
Barbecue.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then,
Kansas City. Oh, yeah. I can't. It's a barbecue state. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
you can get some Jack Stack at the stadium.
Wow.
And then I
And
leave.
Kansas City's all about the burn-ins. Have you guys had burn-ins?
I've
Oh
not.
gosh.
It's rib tips. It's good.
That
Oh
sounds
wow.
good.
Does that sound good?
I'm not a Chiefs fan, but that sounds good.
So I also had a question on here. It's just like you started the episode telling like huge Niners fan. Like when did that? Is it just proximity? You're just surrounded. You just live in Kansas City, or when did that switch happen for you?
Being a Niners fan?
Yeah, from Niners to Chiefs. Just out of curiosity.
So I was always a Chiefs fan, but before I was born, my dad lived in the Bay Area. So when we would watch football, the 49ers were one of our teams. It was never our team, but we did watch the 49ers. The Chiefs were always our team, but the 49ers got to be kind of a little side note.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
honestly, like most of my life, the Chiefs were not very good. It was way more fun to watch Steve Young than Joe Montana when he came to die in Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the one player like the Chiefs always had that was really good back then was Tony Gonzalez, right?
TGZ, yeah, 88. That was my jersey forever.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, epic tight end. And then it's so cool to see Kelsey surpass him. Like Gonzalez was the heart and soul of the Chiefs for so many years. And then, you never know what's going to happen. And it has been such a fun ride with Andy Reid and Mahomes. It's surreal. It's surreal.
I can imagine, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm hoping that Shanahan wins us the Super Bowl so I can feel the same.
On a closing note, because I don't know much about the upcoming game, but like Niners and Chiefs, man, like I'm not sure if y'all want to nerd out, but I don't know what the stats are looking like.
The compelling matchup that I'm looking at is our defense against Purdy. I think what it's going to take is we're going to need him to make a stupid mistake. He's a great quarterback, but he is young and he's not seasoned. And I don't wish any ill on him. I really do like him, but my Chiefs got to take this one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. That's a similar opinion that I gave him because I told Dom, oh, Purdy's pretty young,
Yeah.
And like every time I talk to him, like sometimes we text each other during the games. I'm not watching the game, obviously, but he is. And I always tell Dom, it's just like Dom would say, oh, Purdy, he messed up or like somebody received his ball.
Oh, intercepted.
Yeah, intercept. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, because he's only been around, he played a half season last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a full season.
Yeah.
So it's still like, pretty early in his career.
Yeah. And
I love Mr. Irrelevant coming to the top. Like,
yeah,
he's a star.
Glock Purdy.
Oh yeah.
Gotta love it. No, I think my biggest concern is our defense actually, because we've been playing so soft past few weeks, especially against the run. And Pacheco is no joke. So gotta put some respect on Pacheco for sure.
I remember.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm hoping we get an offensive shootout. I'm hoping it's a fun game.
That'd be good. As long as the score ends up with the Niners winning. Yep.
Yeah.
Nope. He's going to be trying to catch Mahomes' score. He's going to make a bad decision, throw an interception, and that's going to be the game.
Could be. Hopefully not.
Because you were worried about the defense because like the Lions just came out shooting, and that scared the crap out of you.
Yeah. No, I was texting him during the Lions game, the conference round. Like, we're losing this game.
Like, in the first half. Oh,
like we're losing this game, dog.
I mean, I felt that too. America wanted the Lions to win, but but then the Niners remembered who they are.
Yep.
That's what I said.
And the Lions kind of fumbled the bag in the second half.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Wow.
Well, any final plugs you want to make, man?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, give us a follow on Positively Paralyzed on Instagram. Send us a message, reach out to us anytime. We're happy to connect, and we love seeing content from other disabled creators. So send that my way if you got any of that.
I love your memes, by the way. Big fan.
Oh, thank you. That's something I've been got into here recently, and I'm having fun with it.
All right.
It was great talking to you guys.
Yeah, you too, man. Any final questions, comments, concerns, grievances?
No, man.
Might be sending you some messages during the game. Keep your phone on you.
All right, man.
I might be real quiet.
All right, then. Well, as always, if you liked what we had to say today, go ahead and leave us that rating. Perhaps a nice little review on Apple Podcasts. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And share with your friends and family. All right? And what? You look like you got to say something.
Hell yeah. It's football. Yeah. It's going to be exciting.
All right, guys. Peace and love. And may the force be with you. Go Niners.